This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
I'm Cynthia Aguirre in Dallas with a look at your North Texas headlines. A trial is now underway in Tarrant County for the group accused of attacking an ICE detention center in Alvarado. As Scoop Jefferson reported Tuesday, prosecutors claim the suspects are part of an Antifa cell that coordinated that attack online.
The trial started today for the 9 defendants, with the judge reading their charges to the jury. The charges include rioting, conspiracy involving explosives, materials to support terrorism, and firearms violations. If convicted, all 9 defendants face serious prison time. Their charges stem from last year's July 4th attack outside of Prairie Land ICE Detention Center.
I think a cop got shot over there, right there.
During opening statements, prosecutors say the suspects used fireworks as a diversion before shooting and injuring an Alvarado police officer who was shot in the neck. Defense attorneys argue their clients engaged in protest, not violence. The jury will hear from witnesses who were part of the protest but have reportedly agreed to testify for the government. There is heavy security inside and outside the federal courthouse in Fort Worth. Also outside, a group supporting the defendants. The extra courthouse security includes a federal K-9 officer, which even checked the area around the defendants' support group outside. Out of the 9 defendants, Benjamin Song faces the most serious charge, attempted murder of federal officers. The judge expects the trial to last up to 3 weeks. In downtown Fort Worth, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
A father and son were riding together on a trail in Arlington. The father pedaled ahead, looked back, and his son was gone. As Kevin Reese reports, Jake was missing for hours until complete strangers stepped up to help bring him home.
The biking trails are popular at Arlington's River Legacy Park, miles of trails along the west fork of the Trinity River. But Monday night, 25-year-old Jacob Bates, on a bike trip with his father, got lost.
And he just took his eyes off of him for 30 seconds.
His uncle, Tim Gunlock, says Jacob is autistic. The search for him lasted well past midnight. Arlington police couldn't find him. But 2 men responded to the Facebook post by Arlington PD, one of them with a drone and a thermal imaging camera. The drone operator found Jacob deep in the woods outside the park, but the closest the family could get to him off of this dirt road was blocked by this fence topped with barbed wire. So his uncle used bolt cutters he had in his truck to cut through the fence so they could get to him as quickly as they could.
We followed the drone. He put us right over. We were yelling. And then when he yelled back, we didn't know. We knew he was going to be okay.
Jacob was hospitalized overnight, treated for hypothermia, and sent home Tuesday morning. He is going to be okay. So is his uncle, who says it's been an emotional day.
We're thankful for the Arlington PD, and we're thankful for these 2 guys who don't know us. It's easy to get jaded about this world, but there's some good people out there still.
As for the Good Samaritans, I reached them by phone. They tell me they were happy to help, and to learn that this morning, Jacob just had one more request.
In fact, when I put him in the truck, the only thing he wanted to hear Bruno Mars' Uptown Funk. So I turned on Uptown Funk for him.
Lots of funk and celebration for an Arlington family tonight. In Tarrant County, I'm Kevin Reese.
We are less than 3 weeks away from the Grand Prix of Arlington. Our Tiffany Liu checked in on the progress on the track and tried some of the snacks that might steal the show.
On this Arlington road, the speed limit will soon be irrelevant.
It is coming on fast and furious.
From March 13th through the 15th, the streets of the entertainment district will become a racetrack for the inaugural Java House Grand Prix of Arlington.
For so long, it was just this vision of what the Java House Grand Prix would be.
But President Bill Miller says now construction is shifting into high gear.
The track is in place, the grandstands are being built.
The circuit starts near the Lowe's Hotel on Randall Mill. flies by Choctaw Stadium and Globe Life Field before reaching the pit stop with suites overhead.
The suite structures are being built.
It then wraps AT&T Stadium, drawing the shape of a horseshoe through the parking lot.
They have wide streets, which provides great flexibility in defining a track.
During the 70 laps around the 2.73-mile track, the pit stop won't be the only place to refuel.
This is exciting. It's a 1 year that you're going to have probably in your lifetime.
The Legends Hospitality chefs of AT&T Stadium will fill the tanks of 80,000 fans over the weekend from the concession stands to the suites. Prepping inside the home of the Cowboys, they'll have satellite kitchens along the course.
They were going to be cooking, serving, just like we do here in the stadium, but it's going to be completely outside.
Local restaurants will buckle in too. North Texas favorites like Hurtado Barbecue, Prince Lebanese Grill, and Night Out are ready to share their food with an international crowd.
We're activating over 36 acres.
This event is a fast track to tourism dollars, estimating $2 million in economic impact.
The entire entertainment district becomes the venue.
Soon, the Indy cars will hit 180 miles per hour, and the countdown is moving just as fast.
It is very real right now.
In Arlington, I'm Tiffany Liu.
At some point, everyone deals with loss, and for one North Texas family, managing their grief meant finding a way to spread joy. Here's Sean Giggy.
Oh, yeah, we were constantly hugging on her.
When they lost a beloved member of the family back in 2024.
It's my girl.
Kimberly Haley Coleman says she, her husband, and kids were buried in grief.
Yeah.
For about a year, they wondered how they would stop the pain.
I really wanted some kind of joyful monument. And then we had others in our family who just weren't ready to even talk about her loss for a while.
For more than 12 years, Daisy, the family's yellow lab, was their comfort and warmth, their pride and joy.
Oh, gosh.
And the face
Yeah.
of every Christmas card.
Just reflected all the good in the world and absorbed all of the worries and cares and concerns we ever had. Just our best friend.
So when she died, it left a hole. But eventually, they found the road to recovery on the road to their home. Kimberly and her family built this, Daisy's Memorial Dog Stick Library. To any dog that passes by, take a stick, leave a stick, or have a ball. It's gotten positive reviews from neighborhood pups, but it's provided even more to the family who built it.
We knew that it would be something that would make us smile and maybe some of our neighbors that had dogs smile, but we hadn't really anticipated what people we didn't know, what that would mean for them. So it's been great.
Kimberly says they've gotten letters, messages, and calls from people who wish they'd known Daisy or were searching for their own healing.
It really has helped us because it's been a point of joy.
Kimberly says as long as she lives at this address, the library will remain, and so too will the love behind it. In Dallas, I'm Sean Giggy.
And those are your headlines from North Texas.
Hello there, Mia Gradney here with a look at what's making headlines in Houston, starting with the Rosenberg family desperate for answers. That's after a hit-and-run driver left their loved one seriously hurt. Man says he was riding home from work on his electric scooter when a driver hit him from behind and just kept going. Matt Doherty has the latest on his condition and the search for that driver.
The family of the man says they're grateful he's alive, but now they want the driver to know what happened.
He says the word, "I need you to come up by Shipley's. I got hit by a car."
Lisa James says those were the first words her husband David said when he called her just before 10 o'clock Tuesday night. He was less than a mile from their home, returning from work on his electric scooter, riding on the shoulder when he says a vehicle hit him from behind.
He can't remember a make, a model, a color.
Lisa says David was still coherent, but she knew he needed help.
I noticed he was bleeding from the inside of his arm. So I immediately picked up my phone, called 911.
David was ultimately transported to Memorial Hermann Hospital in the medical center.
He had a large laceration on his spleen, fractured vertebrae in his lower back, 2 fractures, and broken ribs.
After he was admitted, he kept passing out.
And his blood pressure had bottomed out again. His heart rate had skyrocketed again. and they are rushing him in to remove his spleen. One doctor said the spleen was shredded. Another doctor I spoke to said the spleen had exploded.
Since then, David has been in and out of intubation, still in the ICU.
I don't know if it was a teenager who got scared or if it was someone drinking and driving and didn't stop.
Lisa says she wants the driver who hit him caught or to come forward on their own. Lisa says there isn't any security video showing the crash, but is hopeful there's someone who may have seen what happened and will be compelled to call Rosenberg police.
This consequence could have very easily been my husband's life.
From the Texas Medical Center, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
2 men from Iran who have been living and working in Houston are now in ICE custody. Members of their church say they converted to Christianity and worry about what could happen if they're sent back. Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogowski takes a closer look at their situation.
At this Sunday service, all are welcome from all backgrounds around the world, refugees and those seeking asylum to worship in peace. But on this day, 2 members are missing.
We were really in shock that this happened.
Pastor Blaine Hooper says his congregants had fled Iran out of fear of persecution.
We're going to talk about Jesus today.
For converting to Christianity from Islam.
It carries a death sentence in that country.
That's not hyperbole.
No, there are Christians killed every year in Iran for just being peaceable Christians.
Pastor Hooper says back in December, the 2 men told him they went to this ICE facility near Bush Airport for a routine periodic check-in. They were abruptly handcuffed and chained, the pastor says, and have been here ever since.
What are they telling you about why they were detained?
Yeah, they tell me that they were detained without explanation. They don't understand why they were detained, given that they don't even have, as far as I understand, a speeding ticket in this country.
According to the nonpartisan research group Track Immigration, 74% of ICE detainees have no criminal convictions. And Pastor Hooper says the 2 men have U.S. work authorization cards, employed and paying taxes in America for the past 2 years.
It is not right.
Hector and Fatima Soto,
he didn't do anything wrong,
opened up their home to one of the asylum seekers now detained.
You consider him family?
It's like my brother, absolutely, yes.
Born and raised in Iran, Fatima says she would often read the Bible with her fellow countrymen.
What is your fear?
If they don't let him free, if they send him back to Iran, his life is in risk. Danger, big danger. I born and raised there. I know exactly what's going on there.
Pray for this advocacy effort.
Pastor Hooper says he's met with federal lawmakers pushing for the release of his churchgoers while their cases for asylum take their legal course.
We want as Christians to live peaceably, worship, work hard, raise our family in peace. And it seems like in these times that's really hard.
For their safety, the pastor asked that we not use the names of the 2 men seeking asylum. Meantime, an ICE spokesperson says they illegally entered the U.S. without going through a port of entry, and Iran does not share reliable criminal history information. The spokesperson says one of the men showed up 9 days late for his required check-in and was arrested. We did not get a reason why the man the Soto family hosted was detained. The spokesperson adds that both will receive full due process before an immigration judge. Back to you.
Jeremy Rogowski with that Investigates report. Thank you. A massive project is in the works at the Lake Houston Dam. $224 million is earmarked to build extra gates at the dam, which city leaders say is part of a solution to flood risk all along the lake. Troy Kless has more from Dewson Park.
Lake Houston can be calm and tranquil like it is today, but one resident tells me he remembers the impacts of Hurricane Harvey on the lake all too well.
Due to flooding during Harvey in communities like Kingwood, the city of Houston wanted to reduce the future flooding risk. Since 2019, there's been discussion on how to expand the gates along the Lake Houston Dam. That's evolved into a $224 million project. Fred Flickinger, Houston City Council member, says the extra gates will allow Lake Houston to discharge more water in a controlled manner.
If we have a weather event that is coming, that we're able to forecast is coming,
we're not really able to do much with it because, like I said, we can only discharge 10,000 cubic feet per second with the existing gates, because that dam was built for a different manner and really wasn't intended to be used that way.
The dam is managed by the Coastal Water Authority. The project is being paid for with federal, state, and local dollars.
The project is still in the design phase, according to the Coastal Water Authority. It's not expected to start construction for at least 2 more years. On Lake Houston, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
There is no doubt the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is special, but this week is the Rodeo Cook-Off. It's important to not only bring your appetite, but your hat as well. Ron Trevino visited some experts to help you top off your look.
At the hat store near the Galleria, you can tell the rodeo is upon us.
Here, I'll get down there.
John Young is on a quest, but he's running out of time.
What kind of form do you want out of it? What kind of crease? What kind of look? So they've got, just about everything if you look up there. And that's kind of the hard part, making the decision.
Yes, the color, the shape. Folks are in line. So many choices.
So is this the busiest time of the year for you?
100%. So rodeo is our second Christmas, we call it. But in reality, we're a lot more busier for this than we are Christmas.
I turned to Blaine Voiles, Hat Shaper Supreme. It's a busy day, but he's got time to give us some insight.
So this one here is going to be a cattleman crown with a more rounded off brim. So that's going to be what we call the alpine. It's very traditional. Mm-hmm. Then you put a little bit more of a modern flair on it here. And it's going to be a cattleman's crown, but your brim, instead of it being round, is going to be a little bit more squared, so it allows it to be a little bit more modern.
You can be more modern, or you can go retro, like 94-year-old Dr. Bill Calloway, giving off that Robert Duvall Lonesome Dove vibe.
When I saw Lonesome Dove, a guy that worked here named Vern creased this hat for me like 20 years ago, and it still held up well.
Looks great.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You can spend a little or you can spend a lot, but the bottom line is without one, you might feel a little naked at the rodeo.
I like it. I like it.
Ron Trevino, KHOU 11 News.
A new me.
Looking good, Ron. Western wear is timeless, cowboys and cowgirls. Time for me to mosey on out of here. I'm Mia Grady with a wrap of your Houston headlines.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
This is Texas News Now weather. I'm Bill Taylor. Want to start with the nation's airports and see where you might be delayed as opposed to where you're safe to travel the beautiful skies. I think you're going to see delays in the Northeast. I mean, they're still dealing with major snowstorm up there. So you're looking at Boston, New York, Philadelphia as major delays Wednesday. And keep in mind, when you have these airports delayed, you get delays across the country. The old phrase is, if New York has a cold, the entire nation sneezes. And that's with air travel. So many flights are being canceled out of there. I think you'll start seeing things improve by Thursday in the Northeast, but then it kind of shifts a little farther south. Washington, D.C., Atlanta, highest probabilities of seeing some precipitation and some delays for Thursday. Boy, Friday looks really good. You are now safe to travel the skies, right? All right, high pressure in control. That storm is leaving the Northeast, but they're still on the back side of it, so still some pretty good snow falling through midweek. But for us, it's the polar opposite. We've got a huge dome of high pressure centered just off to the west of the Baja here. And so you can see how clockwise rotation, everything moves around that high. And here in South Texas, or most of Texas for that matter, we're in that good northerly flow. And so that's a very stable flow. And here's what this high is expected to do, is actually just kind of inch its way a little farther east. So in the coming days, that's going to be what warms us up in the great state of Texas, is as that high starts to slowly drift over Mexico, it kind of flattens out. You don't see as well-defined a ridge, but then we finally start to see it move out far enough that the next area of low pressure has some room to get some rain in, mainly across North Texas on some early long-range model predictions. Temperature-wise, we're still kind of, I'll call it dammed up with most of the cold air. It's almost like there's a dam across the central United States keeping all of the cold air from spilling any farther south. It really kind of shifts over into the east and northeast. In fact, they had temperatures colder in the Florida panhandle than we did here in Texas. All right, there is a front on Thursday. When this front comes through, it looks like it will kick up a few showers across East Texas. It's not going to be very, very much, but I think a broken line of storms might develop Thursday evening that'll kind of skip across Houston, southeast Texas, maybe into Beaumont, Orange, Port Arthur, but it looks as though it's really going to be a bit more rain for Louisiana and Mississippi than it will be for Texas. And then moving forward, we get the high out of the way, and these long-range models are bringing in some rain by next week, pretty much the beginning of March, where we start getting some pretty good coverage across West Texas, North Texas on the first Wednesday of our third month, and then even through Thursday and Friday. Looks like North Texas will be under some decent rain coverage. That's not where the rain's needed, though. You can see that there's hardly any drought condition up around Dallas-Fort Worth. Certainly West Texas, all that yellow means drier than average, doesn't mean drought. But extreme drought continues for south central counties of the state. Let's take a look at the extended forecast. Pick your city and look at these highs. The one that really sticks out, Thursday in McAllen, Texas, 100, hitting triple digits in February. Unheard of, right? And several 90s if you're in McAllen, Texas. I'll tell you, El Paso's pretty warm, mid-80s holding true for the rest of February. I see a 92 for Corpus Christi on Thursday. So lots of heat, and you can also see very limited on rain chances through this entire forecast. For Texas News Now Weather, I'm Bill Taylor.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. A Hawkins mother says her two young sons were targeted by a substitute teacher who made what she calls racially inappropriate comments in their classroom. CBS 19's Robert De La Garza shares what the family claims happened and how the district is responding.
A difficult conversation at home turned emotional for Lakeisha Batty and her two sons.
I was scared that my classmates would, make fun of me in class, and it hurt his feelings really bad, and he just broke down crying.
Batty says earlier this month, a substitute teacher at Hawkins Elementary made racial inappropriate comments towards her sons during class. She claims the boys were singled out because of their race.
And he said, well, my PE teacher called me a monkey. And then that's when my first grader, King, turned around and said, well, he called me King Kong. And that's when my heart broke.
She says after hearing what her sons described, she contacted school officials and later reached out to the NAACP Tyler branch for support.
Even though he was a substitute, they may need to start from the top to the bottom. In my opinion, in Lisa Williams' opinion, I don't think you need to be working anywhere around children.
We reached out to Hawkins ISD about the allegations. In a statement, the district says it takes any allegations involving students and staff seriously and has reviewed the matter. They go on to say, consistent with student privacy laws and district policy, we are unable to discuss specific details involving students or personnel matters. However, Hawkins ISD remains fully committed to providing a safe, respectful, and supportive learning environment for all students. We also asked whether the substitute teacher remains employed by the district. As of the broadcast, we have not received a response. Batty says because of the trauma they've all experienced, she's decided to pull her boys from the district.
We're going to get through this. The only thing I can do is just continue to love them and protect them.
Now she hopes other parents ask hard questions and have honest conversations.
Be aware of what's going on and talk to your children, to make sure they're not being bullied, they're okay with their class, they're comfortable with going to school, first and foremost,
She says for her, protecting her children means demanding they're treated equally. For CBS 19, I'm Robert De La Garza.
95 years. That's the major milestone the city of Kilgore is now celebrating. But beyond history books, it's the residents and small businesses that continue to share its story. CBS 19's Nayeli Carrillo shows us how Kilgore's past and present are closely connected.
At Main Street Vintage Vinyl.
Just a good old-fashioned experience.
Garrett Faust says what makes Kilgore special isn't just the oil derricks towering overhead.
It's it's like a big family in a sense, you know. That's one thing that I'm grateful for that not a lot of places have, is a really good, thriving community.
That community spirit is what city leaders are celebrating. 95 years since Kilgore officially incorporated in 1931. Mayor Ronnie Spradlin says his own family arrived just months after the city formed, during the height of the oil boom.
We're proud of our oil heritage and the role we played in World War II. And when oil was up, we were prosperous. When oil was down, we struggled.
He says while much of the country struggled through the Great Depression, Kilgore was booming with oil jobs, feeding thousands of families.
Oil field mentality, where you were proud if you worked for Halliburton or Exxon or Amoco, that pride now relates to whoever's here, and people are so proud to be working at the industries we have in town.
From boats made in Kilgore to products shipped nationwide, today's economy looks different than the 1930s.
It's very nostalgic to them, and even young kids, they even say it's nostalgic. It's
a city born in mud and oil, shaped by boom and bust, now celebrating 95 years, while still holding on to the pieces of its past. In Kilgore, Nayeli Carrillo, CBS 19.
And that's a wrap up your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. Bexar County investigators have removed 8 vehicles from a small East Side dealership after discovering the business was not licensed or operating properly. Sue Kalberg has more details.
Legit Auto Group. You would think that the sign says it all, right? Well, Sheriff Javier Salazar says not so fast. A multi-agency law enforcement group seized 8 vehicles from this dealership today. The sheriff says the cars aren't stolen, but there appear to be issues with fraudulent paperwork on some very high dollar cars they're accused of selling for rock bottom prices. Salazar said if a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Well, at this point, I don't know that there's anything legit about this car dealership. I don't know under what name they're operating, but I can tell you that the whole thing seems to be improperly done. At the very least, they're improperly putting vehicles out and putting the consumers at risk for purchasing a vehicle that they cannot use. But they may quite possibly be purchasing vehicles that's a piece of junk.
Salazar also said they're seeking warrants to make arrests, but that hasn't happened yet. Now, he also says they would like to hear from anybody who may have purchased a vehicle at this dealership and has had a problem getting a clear title. In East San Antonio, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
The civil unrest in Mexico is prompting some to hit pause on their trips to the country. Zach Briggs spoke with a local travel agent.
There's a lot of concern, particularly if they're already booked and leaving imminently for spring break. And we had a couple of those calls.
Planned trips to Mexico now met with lots of questions and hesitancy. Travel agent Alice Petrie just rebooked one couple who decided staying stateside is best.
We're going to Miami Beach, beautiful hotel, but it's not all inclusive.
As for their original destination,
we weren't going to Puerto Vallarta, they were going to Cancun. I think they got the feeling that it was a complete revolt in Mexico, the country.
The U.S. State Department is no longer urging Americans in Mexico to shelter in place, but citizens are still asked to reconsider travel to numerous states, including Jalisco, where Mexican security forces killed drug cartel leader El Mencho. His death sparked retaliatory violence by criminal groups ranging from property destruction to the killing of more than 20 members of the Mexican National Guard.
If it's somewhere you travel frequently and bad things are happening, it makes you think about maybe we should not be going there anymore.
Several people told us off camera they're skipping Mexico this year due to heightened safety concerns. Cancun's canceled for Eric Gann as well, but for a much different reason.
We kind of started looking at the pricing of the resorts in Cancun, and a lot of the pricing has gone up. Kind of fell back on to Germany.
Meantime, not everyone is calling off their vacation plans down south.
Poor ladies going spring break, and they're ready to go.
Zach Briggs, KENS 5.
Starting Tuesday, Waymo is accepting passengers here in San Antonio to take an autonomous ride. Rania Kaur explains how it works.
Straight out of sci-fi onto the streets of San Antonio.
We're an autonomous vehicle technology company that has a mission to become the world's most trusted driver.
Except there is no driver or even a person inside.
Seeing every single pedestrian, seeing every traffic light, coming to a full stop, following the speed limits, all those different moments build confidence very quickly, and we know that our riders consistently enjoy that experience and come back.
Seen in Phoenix, San Francisco, and Austin, the AI technology has been in its testing phase in San Antonio over the last 6 months. That started with a human collecting data.
We have gone through the streets through a series of phases where we had someone at the wheel to drive the vehicle manually while it collected data and compiled a 3D high-definition map of the roads in the city or surroundings.
The company feels confident that Waymo can now handle driving people by itself in the Alamo City.
You download the Waymo app, hail your ride, except when the car shows up, there's no one at the wheel. It's the same consistent, reliable, personalized experience.
Offering a fully customizable experience, Waymo lets you play your own music, adjust your seat, change the temperature, and even pull over or call someone if you need help.
We have humans that are absolutely ready and able to quickly engage and help resolve any potential situation that may arise, or if needed, escalate that further and work with any first responders or others on the ground to make sure that we really are navigating the city correctly and being safe.
Waymo is ready to provide what they say is a Waymo efficient and accessible experience.
Someone who really wants to experience, the same safe, reliable trip each and every time, the same vehicle, the same features, customization, everything that they want to make it their own personal space is absolutely there.
Right now, Waymo is only available to a limited number of riders here in San Antonio. To get on the wait list, head over to kens5.com. All of the information on our website right now. From City Hall, Rania Kaur, KENS 5.
History came alive at the Alamo Tuesday morning. Crowds gather at Alamo Plaza to mark 190 years since Colonel William Barrett Travis wrote his famous victory or death letter. It was a call for reinforcements addressing the people of Texas and all Americans in the world during the siege of the Alamo.
If this call is neglected, I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due to his own honor and that of his country. Victory or death.
The deadly battle unfolded just days after the letter went out. The letter, one of the most treasured documents in Texas history, will eventually be permanently displayed inside the Alamo's new Visitor Center and Museum, set to open in 2027. And that's the news in San Antonio.
And here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. The state's takeover of the Beaumont ISD, it is moving forward, and now potential Board of Managers, they are getting their first look at what that process could mean. Applicants for the district's new Board of Managers, they went through training with the Texas Education Agency. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato, she spoke to one applicant who says the biggest lesson during the two-day training wasn't about the district, it was about the mindset.
First day I went in, it was just a sense of urgency and empowering.
Applicants are getting trained on what leadership under a TEA takeover looks like. Among them, former Homer Elementary principal Dr. Belinda George. She left before the first takeover.
I resigned for the district because of the reason CEA is coming in. I've now learned that I shouldn't have done that.
Now, she says her perspective has changed after a weekend of training. She sees it as an opportunity.
This is the only approach that we've never taken. So why be against it? Why be against something that we have never done? And simply shifting the mindset and saying, I am part of the problem. What can I do? That's That's the bulk of the training.
George says the largest portion of the training focused on mindset and accountability, not blame. She says she left learning more about herself than about the faults of BISD.
Knowing the difference between adult outcomes and student outcomes, if the community could understand that concept, that would change a lot of the conversations.
Texas Education Commissioner Mike Morath says that mindset is exactly what the agency is looking for.
We're looking for people of character and integrity, people who believe that all children can learn and achieve when we, the adults, get our act together in terms of the supports that we need to provide.
Dr. George says even if she's not selected, she still plans to play a role in improving student outcomes.
There's work for all of us. There's room for improvement for all of us. Even the schools with the B rating, it's still not enough.
And that was Spencer Plato reporting. Dr. George says the agency is going to decide the final board of managers in the next few months. Well, we are hearing from community members, including Mayor Roy West, after Jason January was shot and killed. This happened Friday behind the Family Dollar store near the intersection of Avenue B and Harriet Street. People, they are now calling for an end to youth violence. The story is the latest in our coverage that we have done on this issue, coming after the city's plan to tackle the problem was announced. 12 News reporter Daniela Tabata-Palau, she spoke exclusively with Jason's uncle, who is asking the community to come together to find a solution.
We're assassinating each other. That life has no value.
Concerns of youth violence are growing in Beaumont.
I have a 15-year-old, and I want him to live.
After 17-year-old Jason January was killed on Friday, residents are now calling for accountability and action, including Jason's uncle, Rick Mojica.
Nobody wants to be responsible for anything, but as a community, we're all responsible.
FBI data shows young people in Beaumont accounted for 30% of murder suspects, 6% of victims, and 14% of aggravated assault suspects. The city is now taking action, starting with the mayor's coalition against violence.
I know many people's hearts are broken over this most recent act of violence. I hear comments that come to me, some come online, how they can help. And that is why this Coalition Against Violence is going to be an easy way to get involved and to volunteer.
Mayor West says the city plans to expand mentorship programs, but the community involvement is key.
Violence is clearly not just a law enforcement problem. It is a community problem, and it certainly touches way too many families.
Beaumont police say youth violence can happen anywhere, but prevention starts at home.
It's one of those things where, if you have lack of supervision, you have a greater chance of that type of thing to happen.
City leaders say they're doing what they can, but lasting change depends on the community stepping up.
I want them to know that kids matter. They matter. And we can stand by and say, hey, this one didn't affect me. But don't wait till it affects you to get involved.
And that was Daniela Tabata-Palau reporting. Mayor West says the Coalition Against Violence, they're going to hold its first public meeting March 19th. That's going to be at 5:30 p.m. at the Lakeside Center in downtown Beaumont. And those were the headlines for Southeast Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
In Austin, I'm Quita Culpepper. Hayes County leaders have tabled an agenda item that would have put a temporary pause on businesses with high water usage. And this comes as leaders called for new measures to conserve water last week. Here's reporter Jessica Cha.
When water conservation is up for discussion at a Hayes County Commissioner meeting,
possible action to adopt a resolution related to emergency drought response and water conservation measures.
Everyone is on the same page.
We must ensure that water usage does not go unchecked.
It isn't a left issue, it isn't a right issue, a Democrat or a Republican issue.
Parks, bonds, we care about our natural resources.
But when it comes to how to do it, Hayes County leaders were at odds at Tuesday's meeting.
We can all say nice, pretty words, but we can't drink those words.
On one hand, County Judge Ruben Becerra proposes a 30-day temporary pause to development permits for businesses that use over 20,000 gallons of water a day.
If we do not address heavy industrial scale water use under our current drought conditions, we may soon find ourselves facing serious public safety risks.
Becerra says it would give the county time to evaluate impacts and review development procedures for projects with high water usage to make sure they're protecting dwindling groundwater resources. And with data centers interested in Texas land, some residents agree with the item.
Once an aquifer is overcommitted, there is no refund policy. This is not about stopping progress. It is about sequencing it responsibly.
But other commissioners worry the proposed pause may not be legal.
Is it yes or no legal?
No, unfortunately, I don't believe that this is something that the county will be able to legally do going forward. I think we would be exposing ourselves to significant legal liability.
Commissioner Walt Smith says state law doesn't allow counties to reject permit applications. He says they're only allowed 30 days to raise comments regarding concerns with code violations.
So if we say, no, we're not going to do anything for 30 days, and they submit something, then guess what? At day 30, we have to accept it. But I think that we need to step back and look at what we can actually legally do.
But Becerra says they should still fight for awareness. But the issue is tabled for now to review the proposal. In San Marcos, Jessica Cha, KVUE News.
Austin police announced 2 arrests after a crate full of kittens was found out in the cold right after last month's winter storm. The department posted these photos after finding the cats on a sidewalk in North Austin on the night of January 26th. Now police say they've arrested Shadiman McQuieter and Jarrell Thomas for animal abandonment. Investigators say the 2 had been caring for the kittens in their apartment for months, but then left them outside. The cats are in the care of Austin Animal Services. The suspects each face 8 misdemeanor charges, 1 for each cat. Austin's Homeless Strategy Office is rolling out a new plan to guide its work through 2027. City Council members got to hear the plan Tuesday, and officials say the goal is to establish a roadmap for system-wide leadership, targeted investments, and measurable outcomes. Reporter Brianna Perez explains.
It's how we will build on what's working, scale what's proven, and stay accountable to measurable results.
The Homeless Strategy Office now laying out a plan to guide its work for years to come. While leaders say they have made strides, there's still more work to do.
We learned a lot about how to achieve success. We've also learned about where some of our pitfalls are, and all that information goes into our strategic plan.
David Gray, Homeless Strategy Office Director, says the plan centers on 5 key areas, ranging from ensuring staff set good policy and programs for the homeless community to making sure taxpayers are seeing a return on investments. That means pursuing new public and private funding, launching a citywide outreach coordination plan, creating 650 more shelter beds, and creating 2 navigation centers where people can get connected to resources.
Overall goal with this plan and with our work is to ensure people get off the streets and they get into housing.
Council members got to hear the plan Tuesday and asked the office to better highlight its mental and behavioral health work and to provide a more thorough analysis of its permanent housing investments.
If there are ways that we can have very specific deliverables, even though they're not tied to a number, I think that would be very helpful in just guiding.
Gray says some aspects of the plan are already in play, including launching a new homeless cat management dashboard. Still, they hope to be able to proceed with the rest of it.
Elements of those plans are already occurring, and so once adopted, our goal will be to accelerate the rest of the plan.
And that was Brianna Perez reporting. Officials say they plan to come back late March with an updated plan, which they hope council members can then approve. Austin city leaders are warning people about more blue-green algae in local bodies of water. They say the algae can be toxic and will grow as the temperatures rise. This is what that algae looks like. So before you or your pet get into the water, remember to check for any visible algae and avoid water that's warm or murky. If dogs do get in the water, make sure and bathe them immediately afterward and try to stop them from licking themselves. This week, Austin City Council could vote on tougher rules to crack down on excessively noisy vehicles. People living along 2222 west of Mopac complained about chronic racing and what they call unrelenting engine revving from motorcycles and cars. Here's Adam Bennett.
Alongside the scenic views of the hills in West Austin are sounds causing a big disruption. Earlier this month, people living near 2222 played city council members this montage of video taken in their neighborhoods. On Tuesday,
the problem only gets worse each year.
Many of the same residents returned to City Hall.
It's very, very disruptive and, of course, dangerous as well.
Asking for council support for tougher rules on excessively loud vehicle noise.
We are not asking for perfection. We're asking for a practical, enforceable solution that restores basic peace and safety to our neighborhood.
Mark Duchin is their city council member.
We've heard these complaints loud and clear from people.
His office helped craft this proposed ordinance. It adds a new section to the city code targeting, quote, a loud or disturbing noise or vibration that is offensive to a person of ordinary sensibilities. That includes excessive acceleration or deceleration when there's no emergency need, and engine revving.
Especially at the lights, they'll just rev their engines and they'll go to the gas stations and rev.
Under the ordinance, a person could be ticketed if their vehicle's noise level exceeds 85 decibels after getting a warning from a peace officer. The proposed ordinance says the officer must consider 7 factors, including time of day, duration, and distance from homes.
There's a lot of potential for disparate enforcement, and I have heard from the ACLU of Texas, so I might be bringing an amendment.
But these West Austin residents say they just want another tool for peace officers.
This isn't directed at responsible drivers, motorcycle owners, car enthusiasts.
To help restore their peace.
That was Adam Bennett reporting. This ordinance, if approved, would be citywide. Most violators would face fines of up to $500. The council could vote Thursday. And those are the headlines happening in Austin. I'm Quita Culpepper.
I'm Mike Gillespie in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's making news in South Texas. Well, there's been buzz around the coastal bend about a possible visit from President Donald Trump, and now that talk has been confirmed. The president is set to make a stop right here in Corpus Christi this Friday. An appearance is expected to draw major attention to the area. We spoke with County Judge Connie Scott in Nueces County about what a visit like this could mean for our area.
Well, I think anytime you have someone of that level of importance come to our community, no matter, and I say this with all sincerity as well, no matter which party you're from or something, that's the President of the United States. It highlights our community, whether it's coming for the port or coming for water or coming for border security, whether it's for our bases, whether it's the CCAD and the depot that we've all been talking about, who knows, but we have an opportunity to highlight those things when he's here and to show him the importance of this community.
And it is not the president's first visit to this area. Back in October of 2022, he held a rally out at the Richard M. Borchard Fairgrounds in Robstown. He also visited back in 2017 following Hurricane Harvey. And while Harvey left its mark on the coastal bend, it was Hurricane Hannah that took down one of our area's most iconic landmarks. We're talking about the Bob Hall Pier. Well, now, nearly 6 years later, hundreds gathered on Padre Island to celebrate its long-awaited reopening. Our Bill Churchwell has reaction from eager anglers ready to cast their first line.
On behalf of Nueces County, welcome to your new pier. Let's go!
And with that, Bob Hall Pier was officially open for business. Check out the crowd from up above. Among the fishermen making their way up the ramp, 13-year-old Kason Peters, who had one goal.
What are you hoping to catch today?
Some snook and tarpon.
He's been waiting most of his teenage years for this moment, ever since Hurricane Hannah tore the old pier apart in 2020, ripping off the T-head and leaving it unsafe. The community losing more than wood and concrete. They lost tradition.
I'm stoked. I've been waiting on it forever. Been just ready to get some fish on deck.
And while this might not be the trophy catch this young angler imagined, nearly 6 years later, The tradition is back.
Really, because it's just a stingray, but hopefully I can catch a big shark on it out here.
And he wasn't alone.
Can I keep this? Can I eat this?
There's some good fishing out here, that's for sure.
Jacob Mendoza and Brianna Augustus drove in from Alice, determined to be part of opening day, and ended up having some pretty good luck of their own.
Supposedly we caught the first fish. Well, I caught the first, she caught the second. So has everybody been telling us.
What kind of fish was it?
Whiting, big old whiting.
I had to wear my Whataburger shirt.
For Annalisa Mungia, the years of waiting was personal.
That's hard. It's emotional because I come with my dad and all. So yeah, I've been fishing all my life since I was little. The last time I was back on this pier was 2015.
For her and so many others, the pier is woven into memories, bait buckets, and the big catch. But getting here wasn't easy. After Hurricane Hannah, FEMA denied funding, and the county had to find ways to secure more than $28 million on its own. But leaders, including County Commissioner Brent Chesney, say they never gave up.
I mean, it's blood, sweat, and tears. I can't count the number of hours that I've spent on this, that the team has spent on this.
Now, back, bigger than ever, where new memories are being made.
And that is a quick look at some of what is making news in South Texas.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. Temple is taking one of its biggest steps yet to address and prevent homelessness. The city is nearly doubling its financial commitment to a local nonprofit. Our Juliana Jackson has more on how these funds will help keep vulnerable residents off the streets.
Walk through the doors of Feed My Sheep. There's free meals, medication assistance, job search support, day centers for men and women. The nonprofit has been a safety net for some of Temple's most vulnerable residents. Now the city is stepping in to help them do even more.
The city is trusting a nonprofit and actually investing in a topic and saying we would like to find a way to really impact this deeply.
The Temple City Council approved a contract amendment adding $89,000 to Feed My Sheep's existing homeless diversion program. That doubles the total agreement to $189,000. Executive Director Jeff Stiegel shares how the money really works.
It's not $189,000 sitting in a bank account for Feed My Sheep. It is on a system of we get reimbursed for people that we help.
Stiegel says what makes this partnership work is that Feed My Sheep can operate in ways a city government simply cannot. They know the people and the community.
Not one penny of this money goes to any salary. Not one penny of this goes to sustain anything that's keeping Feed My Sheep afloat. It's going into individual lives in the Temple community.
While this grant is a major milestone, Stiegel says the heart of what Feed My Sheep does every single day hasn't changed.
Nuts and bolts of what we do and the animal that we are has not changed. So this is just one aspect of all the stuff that we do.
Meantime, ranchers in Coolidge are out thousands of dollars after their cattle was stolen from their land over the weekend. Our Adriana Alexander talked to the ranchers about the situation.
Raising cattle has been a tradition for a family in Coolidge for decades.
We've owned this for about 30 years.
But after their calves were stolen over the weekend, they say generations of hard work were taken overnight.
Two things we hate is a liar and a thief. Don't want to work for nothing, just want to take other people's stuff.
The Thomas family land is on FM 2310. Donald Thomas Jr. says it all began Saturday morning when they received a call that two of their calves got out of the gate.
We came back to the gate and then we found that the front gate lock had been cut open on it.
They were able to get those two calves back, but the 11 others were nowhere to be found.
We felt violated. I mean, somebody had the nerve to come onto our land and just take our cattle like this.
Donald Sr. believes there was more than one person involved, and the thieves likely plotted this plan to steal their cattle for some time. Thomas was about to begin the process of branding the calves and raising them up to eventually sell, but those plans were cut short.
The value of those heifers should be around $27,000.
And money could have a lot to do with why someone would steal them, and stealing cattle isn't uncommon. A man was arrested Monday for allegedly stealing at least 10 cattle in Brazos County in December.
They're bringing $5 upward to $6 a pound.
The family says they won't stop until their animals are found and those thieves are held responsible.
If you know anything, just say something. Any kind of leads, turn them in, and just bring them to justice.
Those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.